Good morning.
Oh, hey guys.
Hi, how are you, Faye?
Good, good. Good morning, everyone.
I'm driving,
Glad
so
to
at
see
some
you
point I
all
may
guys
turn off
jump
my phone.
in on here. Let me make sure I get to see all of your faces right here on my screen. Give me a second.
Faye, I'm
There you
driving,
go.
so
Now
I
I can
may.
see you.
Can you hear me, Faye?
Awesome. Yes, I can. Leslie, Steve.
Good to see
Morning.
you. I'm driving, so I may put block the camera for a bit, but then I'll jump back on, okay?
Oh yeah, no problem. I
Thank you.
got you.
Thank you.
Let me rename myself so that way you don't It's not, it's not me, it's not Johnny. But Johnny's gonna be, um is not gonna be joining today because he's gonna be in a conference getting some more knowledge for us guys. But anyway, we'll just hang out and have our usual coffee hour this morning just to check in with you guys. What are you guys up to? Any updates on your side? What's going on in your market, anything you wanted to share and things like that. And yeah, I think we have a new joiner, Mr. Trotwine. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
You
But
nailed it, Leslie.
anyway,
Thanks. Just call me Steve or Fish.
Steve. All right. Hey, Steve.
Great to
So
see you.
yeah. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you do? And yeah, your markets that the markets that you're investing in and whatnot.
I'm the director of military lending for Intercoastal Mortgage, which is the largest local mortgage lender. Got to know Johnny through some common clients coming up here from Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. First time
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to attend this coffee. I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And yeah, I hope you can drop your information in the chat box too, so we can, share it as well on how people can reach you, things like that on socials. We have a website, Steve, or phone number or email on how people can get in touch with you.
I'd be glad to. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. All right. That's great. And Dr. Joel, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Cho.
Good mo
Dr. McLeod.
Mute button got me. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning
All
to
right.
everybody.
I'm excited to hear the updates on your closing.
Yeah, I got the first one closed a week and a half ago, and got a tenant in there already asking about how I want to receive my next check, and it referred me another tenant buyer already. And I'm
Mm.
actually meeting with a potential tenant buyer today. He saw the house yesterday, the second one that I got on the creative finance deal at 2.2%. And he wants to talk about purchase options. He liked it yesterday when he saw it. So we'll meet with him this afternoon. So hopefully we'll be closing again pretty soon.
Wow. On a roll.
Yeah, yep, yep. Let it come.
Congrats, congrats. Awesome. All right, we'll have Darius.
Mute monster.
Yeah, probably got the mute button got him too. We'll go with Earl. Earl, how are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Nice. Any updates on your side? What's going on? What are you up to?
The
Question.
meeting with Johnny was canceled yesterday, so we had to
Oh,
reschedule.
oh, okay. Anything that you need or questions you have right now that we can help you with?
No, I think it's just the one-on-one probably covered the outline, which direction I'm heading in.
All right, if you have time after this coffee hour, I can jump in on a call with you and then we can chat a little bit and see
Okay,
if I
that'll be
can help
fine.
with it. Awesome, awesome. All right. Jay. Jay, you in there?
Hello. Yeah,
Hey
hi.
Jay.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jay. Good, good. Tell us about the land.
I'm waiting on talking to you, so just wanted to see how we can connect.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you want to share any with everyone like that particular opportunity?
Okay.
You can, yeah, you can share it with us, with
Okay.
everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
tell us about that deal.
Yeah. So probably some of them might have already understood what I had talked earlier. I'll revisit. So this is a land owned by a family. They own 80 acres of land. So over 80 years, their family has been owning. And this gentleman is the trustee, who is the sole decision maker of this land. So they have 80 acres of land, and in California, Sacramento, they are doing the finance phase of development in for the city in Sacramento. So this is about 5 to 7 minutes away from Sacramento downtown, and minutes away from the airport. And the 2,000 acres of land is getting developed, of which only 160 acres of land is allowed for vertical development. And this is just closer to highway, uh, um, which gets into it. And this 160 acres of land is a perfect square, and of which each of them is the entire 160 acres is divided into 40 acres of 4 lots, uh, and uh, they are a perfect square, and one edge of each um, 40 acres is on the face is along the river side, so or a canal, wherein there is a 2-lane uh, road that goes along this edge. So, and this is midway between Bay Area and Lake Tahoe. Now, the way I am looking to move forward is either to partner with the developer or a private money lender or someone. This land is mixed commercial use, and the seller is motivated to sell because the other family members, they are in need of money. And so ideally the seller would want to hold on to that land, to both the land for development. But he get have enough finances to hold on to both, to entire 80 acres. So half of it, 40 acres, is planning to uh, give away prior to prior to entitlement. And so what I was thinking of, and myself and the counterpart who is directly uh, connected with the seller, uh, so me and him were either planning to get a wholesale fee out of it, or secondly, um, so he is looking from the seller side and I am looking from the buy side. But since we have not been able to identify, so I propose that me and him get together and make an offer. So it was appraised at 15 million in 2023 August. And since then it has been uh, going through the entitlement process, which will get completed, for which they have a final meeting in June of this year, and it's likely to get over by August of 2025. So what myself and him were thinking of getting an offer. Um, so my LLC and his LLC will get on will uh, be the partner or another LLC, which will be holding this land, making an offer to acquire the land on seller financing.
Mhm.
We are hoping to acquire it at 1/3 the price of what was appraised. So it was appraised for 15 million. I am looking to acquire it for 5 million. And just having this, and then right after the entitlement, we are looking to um, uh, go for um, refinancing.
Okay.
And I do need some help in knowing if the entitled vacant land will be there will be any credit unions or bank who would be willing to grant this loan towards this. And if they do, then we may normally they would be willing to give uh, up to 70% of the land value. So with entitled land, it would be about probably 25 million or so. So 70% of that would be around uh, 20 million, 18 to 20, 18 million. So with that 18 million, we would be able to free up the seller as well as the if at all we borrowed any money, so
Got
we
it.
will be able to repay that back, and
Got
then
it.
partner with some money partners or bring in some investors,
Right.
and we be the primary GP on the team, and
Mm-hmm.
have the limited partners willing to invest and as who are from the construction background, and then we move further with that.
Understood. Steve, do you finance those types of deals as well? Land development?
I do not. We do not do commercial. I just do kind of standard VA Fannie Freddie
Oh,
loans.
okay. Okay. Gotcha. So Jay, I have a question for you. I'm not sure if you've mentioned already. So what's the zoning designation of the
It is a
land?
commercial mixed use, so there is residential construction as well as commercial, and
Okay.
it's a very good location, close to city, and up to 2,000 only 160 acres is getting developed. So
Got it.
if you
Uh,
have
uh,
any
uh,
land,
okay, got it. Are there any like development limitations in
no,
the
there are
area?
no. The city is very cooperative in uh, cooperative in issuing the. So now the thing is that city has undergone the entitlement to the entitlement. They have already done the EIR report, and it seems that all the utilities and everything is brought up the land. So everything is ready.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the surveyor report is also ready. So
Got,
hoping that everything is streamlined, everything we should
yes.
be able to do it.
Yeah. We wish you best of luck on that. Has this is the seller considering like um doing like, financing it?
Seller, yeah, so seller is um, very much cooperative in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
the seller is mm, also providing an option, like should the entitlement process do not go through, he is
Okay.
willing to have the land back, but
Mm-hmm.
his option is must sell it should the entitlement.
Gotcha. All right. And I think would be the next step is to, speak with the seller and see how you can develop like an investor offering together so that you can start raising capital for it for the land development. And then start with the one I mentioned in terms of like doing or selling an off-plan project So
Mhm.
start building it and then having investors who are actually buyers to start purchasing the pieces of units that you guys are building in there, whether it's commercial or residential. And then so you don't have to worry about like, I mean, not worry, but in terms of like you already have the capital coming into it as you build the property.
Right. Probably, Joel, do you think any kind of creative angle to this anyway to make it?
Yep, absolutely. So you know, having a development plan ready, and so that there's two ways. One would be having investors come in to the deal, and then the second one is actually having or attracting buyers to purchase the units that you are building even prior to having it built. So that's what you know consider the off plan um, marketing. So they're already paying for the unit as a buyer while you're building the property.
Yeah, but just the initial acquisition.
The initial
Uh,
acquisitions would be more of like you creating an investor offering, like a projection of how much you would offer for your investors, as they would, you know, it could be for, not sure about Sacramento, but you can do like accredited and non-accredited, but it seems like this one would be more for accredited investors. So you'll
mhm.
have to check on the legal side too, on how you're going to be structuring it, and based on your projection on how much this would be earning or cash flowing, on a monthly, that's how you will base your investor offering to. Plus, of course, the appreciation of the property once you have built something in there. So
Okay.
we'll dive deep into the numbers. There's a lot of numbers we'll have to check on that.
Hey, Faye,
Yes, that's
I
the.
have a,
You
I
have
have
any?
a, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
About this. So you said it sounded like it would be more for accredited investors versus non-accredited. Can you explain a little bit about kind of what determines that?
Oh,
Is it the
sure.
value of the
Sorry, you got cut off. Leslie?
Hmm.
Mm, probably it's her signal. What I got is explain accredited versus non-accredited. I hope I got that right. But it's more of like it's determined by the income. So that's one of the accredited and the non-accredited investors. That would be based on the registration for the SEC. It's, you know, the 506B. Not sure if I'm explaining it right, but more of accredited investors, they have access to private offerings, and then non-accredited, they have limited access to it. The verification required for them, it would be, you know, the income docs, third party, and for the non-accredited, often they're not required for it. And for in terms of like the risk tolerance presumed higher for the accredited and needs more protection for the non-accredited. Dr. Joe, if I'm explaining it confusingly, just, you know, feel free to jump in.
Yeah,
And
I think
go ahead.
I think the income level. I think you have to earn
Mm,
$200,000
at
a
least.
year for to be an accredited investor, or have I think assets of 300,000, something like that. I may be off a little bit. But I think that's a cutoff there. And there's one other criteria other than income. I can't remember what it is, but I know the income is definitely a criteria.
Yes, yes. So it's like you get to like register yourself in the SEC for these types of, you know, investment. But let's just say accredited investors are more like has more access to capital. Let's just put it that way. And non-accredited has lower tolerance in terms of like, you know, investing into to these types of deals. But it really depends on the on the property or the investment, I guess. if the operator requires to, or only required to have like private capital, or like, non-accredited, that's fine too, depending on how you're going to structure it. It could be just a straight equity or straight debt, or like what's the other type, promissory note. So it really depends on how you're going to structure it. So let's just it you'll basing it on the actual deal and how you are projecting the deal. And yeah, I hope that answers your question, Leslie.
She
But
just came on. Now you got to answer it again.
I'm so sorry, Faye. I'm so sorry. It was a bad connection and I totally got kicked out of the call. But my question was, so you had mentioned that it sounded like his deal was more for an accredited investor versus a non-accredited. And my question was, how do you determine, which type of investor can come in on the deal? Is it based on the value of the project itself?
well, it depends on the operator actually. But with the land development, it requires much more capital versus if we are, how we do it in the multifamily or like already existing or ready built properties.
Okay.
It's so that's why assuming that it would be much more ideal for accredited investors, because this is like building from ground up. Accredited
Understood.
investors, it'll be more, they have access to more capital versus the non-accredited. But I was saying it would also be depending on the operator if they'd be open if they'll open if they are willing to open the opportunity for non-accredited too, and just structure the deal the way, it would be like either a GP or like a straight equity or
Mm-hmm.
promissory notes, or other ways of creatively like financing it, and then structure their investor offering depending on how much they're projecting the cash flow and the appreciation of the property as they build on stabilization and as well. So yeah.
Understood.
So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much, Faye. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. This time you hang on. The
Yes,
internet
hopefully.
hang on.
I'm driving. I'm driving, so certain areas I just completely lost signal, but I'm still here.
Oh, I got you. All right. Tell us about what you're up to, Leslie.
Absolutely. So I know that you and I are going to get together on the branding piece, and
Yes.
for my husband and I, it's just jumping back in and really focusing back on our target areas. For us, it's still West Virginia and the Buffalo, New York area. So
Mm-hmm.
just really getting back and working that underwriting muscle again to focus on some properties for us, and to really kind of land that we're still focused on our first deal.
Nice. How many units are you looking for again?
So initially it could be two to four initially.
Okay. And traditional financing, VA?
It's going to be more than likely it will be VA, but if we could also do traditional financing as well.
Got it. Okay. Well, we got Steve right here that may be able to
Yeah.
to assist us on that side.
Now, does Steve just handle Alabama, or is he open to other areas?
I've got, I think, 17 states now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, fantastic.
Virginia primarily, but
Okay,
we'll
we're
cover
based
them
in
all.
we're in Montgomery County in Gaithersburg, Maryland, so not too far.
Wonderful. Do a lot of
Nice to,
business in Maryland.
okay, awesome.
Great,
Nice to
great
meet
thing
you.
about Maryland is there, unlike Virginia and most other states, there are no transfer taxes on refinances. So now we've got kind of artificially high rates.
Mm-hmm.
When the Fed has its foot on neither the brake nor the gas, we go to normalized, probably call it mid to high fours.
Mm-hmm.
And since you're in Maryland, you can refinance quite economically when we get to that point.
Okay, fantastic. And did you drop your information already, Steve, in the chat?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'll take note, and definitely will reach out.
Eager to help.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
and Steve, I have dropped as well the link for you to join our REI Genius School community right there. so we can have you inside the community too right after this call.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions, you guys? Anything you wanted to? Oh, Darius, we haven't, can you hear us? No. All right. Well, Steve, I guess I have a question for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about, the process for those that are not familiar with and are watching us on YouTube, and who wanted to learn more about their access to VA loan and things like that. Just a little bit of how to get started on that. And, give us a 360 view of what the process would be like and the requirements and things like that.
Sure. So my primary market is for veterans PCSing. I believe I'm the only loan officer in the country focused on that, and all the niche nuances around that, right? Too often, even when we get 05s, 06s, they have in mind, okay, my BAH is X, what can I rent for that? So my business partner and I are total nerds. Our entire work is around the mathematics of rent versus own. So we do, we're primarily focused on active military PCSing to DC or many of the top bases around the country. But we do a lot with retired as well. Right now, VA interest rates are probably 3/4 of a point below conventional rates, which is helpful. And in many states, you can refinance easily economically when rates drop just a little bit. So eager to answer any questions folks have on VA loans, on or offline. I've enjoyed working with Johnny on this as we've gotten to know each other.
I have a question, Steve.
Sure.
I work with my target is pre-foreclosures right now, and I come across a lot of VA loans. Unfortunately, veterans are going into pre-foreclosure. Now, the COVID Recovery Act just expired April 30th, which offered a moratorium, well, sort of additional loss mitigation option for government-backed loans. Particularly FHA and FDA.
Yeah.
And did the VA also well, they extended that until February 2026. And I was wondering if the VA had additional loss mitigation options that sort of help keep some of those veterans from going into foreclosure. Did they extend theirs? Because theirs expired April 30th as well.
I have not seen an extension of that. Again, I'm kind of on the
front side,
the underwriting and the other side of that. But I'll tell you the one of the biggest misperceptions out there is in the VA space, the primary investors out there, call them Penny Mac, Freedom, New Res, Mr. Cooper. The last thing what they want to do is take back the property. It's messy. They don't want to do it. So one of the important things to look at when the loan is underwritten is what investor do you match up with, right? Because there's some who are, I'll say, sharky, okay?
Right.
But if you go with the right one, so I'm not representing one investor or one bank. When a client of mine is executing VA loan, it's almost like eBay. I go into the capital markets and I'll have up to 25 different investors bidding on that loan. And, as you can tell by my hair, I've been doing this a while, kind of learn which ones, it's not a commodity. It's not just which is the lowest rate or the best price to get there. Sometimes the quality of the investor can make a difference.
Okay.
Things are moving so fast right now. I mean, it's true chaos, right? Every day when Trump uses the T word, tariff, right? It just sends the market into a tizzy. What you're seeing today also is even though the equity market has recovered well the last week, on some better trade outlooks, you'll see the bond market went the other way. Interest rates have risen. You know what that's telling us, folks? It's telling us that the market does not like this tax plan. The arithmetic does not work. Our deficit and debt will increase. So we need some sobriety. We need some truth to power here, right? And we need to get our big books in order to get rates down. Scott Besson's right. His report card should and must be the 10-year Treasury. It's not working right now.
I have another question too. Thanks for that answer.
Sure.
Does eligibility for a VA loan have anything to do with the applicant's credit worthiness at all? And do you have people who are ineligible to get VA loans?
Great question. Eligibility is really based on certificate of eligibility, entitlement used, being able to do multiple VA loans. You can only use that VA loan to buy a primary home, right? One that you are living in. However, once you do make that purchase, you can turn it into an investment property. And most importantly, you can refinance, right? So if you buy a home today with a conventional loan, let's say you do 3% down, you turn it into an investment property, fine, loan stays intact, but then you move out, you turn it into an investment property. Interest rates fall, and they will, just a matter of when and how far. You cannot refinance that property until you have 25% equity in it, okay? And the interest rate on that is going to be higher than if someone's doing a loan to buy a primary, okay? One of the most underappreciated aspects of a VA loan is, you can do that purchase with 0% down. Sometimes it's smarter to do 5 based on VA funding fee, whether you have any disability on your COE. But you can move out of that property, have it be an investment property, and you can refinance just like it's in a primary. You don't need to have 25% equity, and rates for you are as low as they would be on a primary. So to your question on credit score, the bar is also lower there. Usually in the conventional world, to get what I'll call non-mafia pricing on these loans, you've got to be north of 620. In the VA world, you can usually go down to 580 without getting hit on price. The other point is, if you're doing a conventional loan, your rate is going to be meaningfully better, right? If you have a 800 credit score than if you have a 660 credit score. In the VA world, there is at least with the better firms, there's very, very little difference. So a client of mine with a 660 today is probably going to get the same rate and price as if he had an 800.
Okay.
Does that answer that, Joel?
Yeah, I was sort of hoping that you had people that were being denied for VA loans, because I do creative financing and provide affordable homes for people who have weak credit scores. And
well, I do. I mean, that happens. My team and I joke about our clients who roll 6/8, meaning we got a couple that each has 3 credit scores and all begin with an 8. Most of my clients who are coming out at Air University at Maxwell down your way, right? They're usually rolling 6/8. But I've got many that don't. So take my number, Joel. Let's talk on the outside.
Gotcha.
I will have those opportunities for you.
Okay, great.
That's awesome. Steve, is there so there's VA funding fee, right? Can that be rolled into the loan?
Yes. I've never, I've done hundreds of VA loans. I've never seen the VA funding fee not rolled in. Okay. The VA funding fee is going to differ. First of all, if a veteran has any disability on their COE, they pay 0 funding fee for life, even if it's just 10%. Just financed a client here in Great Falls who was getting a whopping $171 a month in disability. didn't really notice it kind of thing. We just bought a home in Great Falls, and that 10% disability saved him $60,000 in his funding fee. So lesson there is when a veteran separates from the military, you got to jump through those hoops, okay? Because almost anyone comes out with at least 10, right? But you got to jump through some hoops. It's a valuable benefit coming out of the VA. But I'm sorry, your question on those, on funding fee. So if the biggest mistake I see veterans make is they rush into the zero down option. The 0% down payment is often a good thing to do. However, if a veteran has no disability on their COE and they have done a VA loan before, so they're doing what is called subsequent use, the next second time and out when they do a VA loan. The VA charges a funding fee of 3.3%. Too many people in my business kind of slough that off like dandruff and say, oh, but it's rolled into the loan. Doesn't matter. It matters a lot because that's a 3.3% debit against the value of your home, right? If you instead come up with 5% down, your funding fee drops from 3.3% to 1.5%, right? So it's about a 40% difference. So we joke with our clients who've already done a VA loan, hey, whatever it takes to get to 5%, right? Borrow from your TSP, borrow from your 401k, turn over your couch for change, knock over a liquor store, whatever you need to do. We need to get to 5%, right? Because it's an instantaneous 40% return on your money. So that's more than you wanted to know about funding fee, but it's important that every veteran look at it because too often, and I'll let them remain nameless, I'll call them veteran targeted lenders just like to say zero down, zero down, zero down. Sometimes it's not the right solution.
Right. Well, there's bombs right there. So, how will the VA loan affect DTI for future investments? Or is there any like effects on that? Debt to income.
Yeah, right. So of course, if someone has a VA loan outstanding, it's going to show up on their credit pull, right?
I mean, same as the like a traditional one, or is it different?
Exactly the same.
Same.
If
Okay.
it turns into it gets a little more complicated on the offset, right? If they turn it into an investment property and buy another home, right? Unlike with a conventional loan, it's very easy to use 75% of the offsetting rental income. In fact, you can just do a rental comp appraisal to be able to use that as an offset. So slight advantage VA over conventional. But usually the question that comes up, Leslie, around DTI is when the veteran is doing that second deal, right? How much of that line item, interest expense in the credit pull can be offset and how to offset. Where someone can get into, it's really easy when it's the exit property, when the veteran is moving from that property to a new one. And I've got a lot of clients that I refer to as serial primary home buyers, right? Which is a really smart strategy.
It is.
You buy a primary, zero down, 5% down, right?
Right.
Stay in it. It's supposed to be a year. No one's going to knock on the door. Sometimes it can be a little shorter than that.
How long? Is there like a requirement how long you need to stay?
When you do that loan, you're signing a document saying it's your intent to stay for 1 year.
At least 1 year.
At least 1 year.
Okay.
But, let's say you're doing this your sixth time. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get away doing it after 6 months, right? But again, most of my work is in the PCS world, permanent change of station, which is one of the military's greatest misnomers, as there ain't nothing permanent about it, right?
That's true.
Under that scenario, there can be a change in orders, right? Stuff just happens. And
Right,
and that can be just, again, if it's not the sixth time, I just had someone close with a VA loan. Orders changed. They wanted to keep the place as, long-term investment property here in Northern Virginia. They were there 2 months, went and did another VA loan in another market.
Got it. Can you combine VA with conventional? Is that something that's usually or typically?
I wouldn't say combine. The only time, sometimes you can combine and this is kind of really on the cutting edge of VA mortgage law. I help a lot of clients assume VA mortgages, right? That were written in the twos, unlike a conventional. If, a veteran, bought a home with an interest rate of 3 and they want to sell it, that 3% loan can go with the property, right? Which adds a lot of value. Okay. I've spent a
Right.
lot of time counseling folks on this. Example here in Great Falls, Air Force Colonel retiring, thought he was buying his forever home, 1.9 million. He found that he had to move back to Colorado Springs for some consulting business. He had a 2 3/4 loan on the property, 100% financed. So without the loan attached, his best bid for the home was 2.0 million. With the loan attached, it was 2.25 million, right? $250,000 advantage for the buyer to have that loan assumed. Probably had a dozen situations like that in the last year. You can't make that original loan longer or larger, but sometimes you can attach a second mortgage, a HELOC, sometimes called a piggyback on top of that. So to your question, that's one area where kind of sort of you're combining a VA with a conventional, but that's just when you're doing a piggyback second.
All right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Are VA loans assumable? Still assumable?
Yes, sir.
All of them?
Every single one, yeah. And here's a here's a little a piece on that. So yes, unlike conventional, they are assumable. There are more myths out there around assumable loans than I've seen anywhere else in the mortgage business. A civilian can assume a VA loan, but if it is a civilian that assumes the VA loan, the seller, the person who did that original loan, does not have his entitlement restored, right? So it could block him out of doing a VA loan and taking advantage of that perk long term. If you are a veteran with a low rate VA loan, you want to sell to another veteran if you can, because then you get your entitlement restored. Does that make sense, Joel?
Yeah. So if you sell to another veteran, then you can have that taken off of your, I guess, your VA credit.
Yep, your COE, your certificate of eligibility, right?
Okay. So it's restored. But if you
Yeah.
sell to a non-military person, then it's forever gone, as long as
Well, until or unless that buyer of the home were to
buys it.
refinance or sell the home without the attachment.
I got you.
Oh, I'm gonna ask the hard, a hard question. Are there any like audit risks in the VA if the VA suspects using the loan purely for like investment purposes?
I'm sorry, again, please.
Are there any audit risks if the
So
VA is, suspect
so
I'm
at
primarily using
at
it?
the time of purchase.
Yeah. I mean, say I'm using it, like I've used it several times already.
Oh, okay. So
Are there
when
any audit risk on that?
when I pull up a immediately after application, one of the first things I do is pull the client's certificate of eligibility that shows what other VA loans they've done, which ones are outstanding, And very often it leads to a fairly complicated calculation of how much more VA loan can that veteran who's got another one or two VA loans out there do, right?
Mm.
And a lot of that depends candidly on where they live, right? The greater DC area is called a high cost area. And if I have someone moving, to use the same example with Joel, if I have someone moving from Air University at Maxwell up to Northern Virginia, they have a ton of entitlement, unless they bought over 800,000 down in Montgomery. That's pretty hard to do, even in Pike Road, right, Joel? And just
Right.
not a lot of that going on. Here it costs 800 to get running water, right? So it's easy for that veteran who's moving from a low cost market to a high cost market. But if I have a client who has a loan in Northern Virginia and they're going to, some areas that even seem like high cost, but they're not categorized as such. I'll say Colorado Springs as an example. Very often, if that original loan up here was for more than $806,000, and most of them are, the veteran's blocked out from doing a second loan. So it gets complicated there. Just, store my phone number away. Give me a call
I think
when those
that's
come up, because it's really quite nuanced.
that's definitely the best next step for everyone. I'll share with you guys the contact information of Steve, and I would love to have another session with you and probably get on to learn more about it, the process and everything. But yeah, if you need any help on that side, I'll share Steve's information and get him on school to get into our REI Genius community as well. And I guess we need to wrap it up a little in a few minutes. Any questions, guys? Questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that?
Hey, Steve, would you like to come and talk to the local REI meetup that we have once a month here in Montgomery?
I'd be eager to do it by Zoom. I don't get down that much.
Oh, you're not in Montgomery.
No, I'm in Northern Virginia.
Oh, okay.
I usually, but this is where we got to keep in touch. I usually get down, I rent a house in the aforementioned Pike Road, back behind Sweet Creek Barbecue, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Back behind Sweet Creek. I usually come down to the market once a year, usually January, February, to meet with officers and kind of take them through the arithmetic.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I do a lot of business out of Montgomery, but I'm a Virginia guy.
Gotcha. Great.
All right. So happy you joined us today, Steve.
I just apologize it took me so long. I mean, Johnny and I probably had breakfast 6 months ago. We talked about this and doing the 8 a.m. Wednesday. I'll try to make it a habit. You guys.
Well, you should be joining us every week. So it's
I
every
will
week.
try. I'd love to make it part of the routine.
Yeah, we do our coffee,
Standing meeting.
Morning, because these are the things that you cannot just talk to anybody. Sometimes even at home, that you cannot share all these things with, you know what I mean, right? But yeah, so glad to have you all, guys, and it's another awesome Wednesday morning hanging out with you. I look forward to seeing you again next week, and by next week we'll have Johnny again join us. If you feel like you have anyone who would need help or anything like that, real estate or anything, or any service that will be able to help out on you guys, just feel free to join us every week 8 a.m. and I appreciate all of you. See you guys again next week.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks, Leslie,
Thank you,
Steve,
Leslie.
Joe,
Thank
Earl,
you.
Jay.
Bye,
Stay
Dr.
well,
Joel. Thank you,
everyone.
Steve. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good
Have a
day.
great day, everyone.